Hello, everybody. Samantha here. Welcome to my page, Self-Care Samantha, where I teach you about real self-care. I'm currently in the midst of teaching you the 8 elements of self-care that I have all listed here. And today we're going to be specifically talking about our inner world. I'm going to go into the first 3 elements and we're going to talk about those today. But if you want me to do a video on just one of these, by all means, let me know in the comments and I would love to make a video for just that. I have so many content ideas coming at you right now. But the first and most important thing is understanding what we all have to do. Okay, so if every adult can manage these 8 elements, I know for a fact we'd be a better quality society, a healthier society, and a happier society. And being able to manage these 8 elements would not mean that we're all living an identical life. All it means is that every adult needs to be able to manage this to have a pretty good life, okay? So let's start with what's important. Today, we're learning about 1, 2, and 3, intellect, emotion, and spirit. So forgive me, I'm still learning how to be a YouTuber. I don't love that light, but we're doing what we gotta do, okay? So we're gonna start with our intellect, okay, number 1. So what is intellectual self-care? Well, it means that you are going to maintain your intellect, if not improve it. I'm really picky about the words mental health and mental illness because the term mental illness really aggravates me. Your mentality is your intellect. I personally have met, I would say close to 1 million people in my life due to all the social things I've done for my jobs. And I have never met a person that isn't smart enough to problem solve, but I've met countless people that don't want to problem solve. So I'm very mixed when I hear the words mental illness. So I want to be clear, I do believe there are true mental illnesses out there that are, brain damage induced or developmentally induced, but the average adult, I'm sorry, you're smart enough to figure out your problems and you have to figure that out so that you can get a better quality of life, okay? So let's talk about what is intellectual self-care and how do you do that? Well, it's problem solving, okay? End of story. Intellectual self-care means if you can problem solve, you can intellectually figure things out for yourself, okay? That means emotional problems. That means financial problems. That means relationship problems. Like, you need to be smart to problem solve whatever the capacity of that is, okay? So what's something that you can do to handle your self-care in intellect? Well, one of the first things you can do that's easy and low or no cost, which, guys, is one of my goals. I always want to teach you something that's low to no cost because I know when I was struggling, I couldn't afford very much. So if I can teach you how to do something without really spending a lot of money, if any money at all, I have succeeded. So hopefully that works. And maybe you'll have some ideas that you can share in the comments with me as well that might be beyond what I've already thought of today, okay? So one thing you can do for yourself is do puzzles. And let me tell you, puzzles or board games, let's write that down, board games. These cause problem solving. And a lot of board games let you work with real life situations. Like Monopoly is actually a really interesting game because we all need to get better at our finances and negotiating. So yeah, Monopoly is a hard game, but it's hard because you have to figure out how to solve the problem, right? So with that said, I want to say to you right now, learning problem solving, we all know this sensation. We all know that feeling of, remember being in school and doing a math problem, being like, oh, my brain is hurting. I'll tell you right now, learning how to do YouTube and edit videos makes me do this. Ugh! And sometimes I even cry because it's so hard, okay? But that's the reality. Learning has a physical feeling. It's uncomfortable, and you have to get used to it because uncomfortability is a part of life. And having a bit of uncomfortability around learning, I'll tell you what's happening. Your brain is physically creating new synapses. So of course you're going to feel it. You know what I mean? So you got to get used to problem solving and you got to get used to being a little bit uncomfortable. So puzzles you can get at a thrift store for $2 or $3, and then you can hit your Facebook local groups and have a trade-off. So you only ever had to purchase one actual puzzle. That's how I do it. I don't like having boxes and boxes and boxes of puzzles in my house, so I only ever have one puzzle. And I just trade it off with somebody, and maybe I'll trade it with one of my friends, or like I said, try this Facebook group and trade it with somebody else who has a different puzzle. This is a low cost, no cost situation. Board games are no different. You can do the exact same thing that I just described, okay? What's something else we can do that is highly, highly, highly important is read. Read, read, read. I can't stress this enough. And I want to be really specific about what I mean when I say read. I don't mean read the news articles and the synopsis headline. I mean, pull out your dictionary, spend time reading an actual book, because what's happening here is when we learn from our phones and our screens, yes, we're learning, but it's actually hitting the central cortex, which is meaning that yes, you understand, and yes, it's making sense, but it's not really committing to any of the memory centers of the brain. When we pick up a book and we learn new words, this stimulates the frontal cortex. So that's where all that uncomfortable feeling from problem solving is coming. But that's where the learning center and the memory centers are. So there's tons of studies proving that reading from a physical book is actually significantly better for us in the long run. The thing I also want to say about learning from books is that there are people out there that are experts in the problem you have, and they want to teach you every last thing they know, but they cannot teach every single person. Books can be super low cost. You can also do what I was just saying on Facebook, looking through Facebook trade groups, picking up used books. I often buy used books through Amazon because there usually is a little used icon at the bottom if you're looking at a specific book. And same idea, maybe you don't want to be collecting a million books. That's okay. Buy one and trade it off, or buy books and learn to use them. I have a variety of books that I use as Bibles, so to speak, because I go back to them for the same information to remind myself, or because I don't remember every last thing I can read. It's impossible, right? So if a book made a difference in my life, I do indeed keep it. But I also give books away when I know somebody could really use that advice. Okay. So one more thing that we can do. No, I'm so sorry. I wrote a bunch of notes, but I said them faster than the way I wrote them. So good for us. So we have completed intellect today. Two, we're going to learn about our emotional self-care. Okay, so emotional self-care, what does that mean? Well, it means understanding what is your emotions and how to feel them. What? When there's two words for something, assume they mean two different things. It's true that many words are interchangeable, but most words are specific to a degree. Emotions are the part of your body, your nervous system, your gut reaction, and your feeling is the intellectual part of interpreting those emotions. I'm going to say it again, okay? So your emotions is your body, and your feelings is you figuring out what is your body telling you. Some of us, I used to be like this, was living in survival mode, and my emotions were incorrect. I was constantly jumping at people. I was constantly like, grr, and I'd stress out about everything because I was living in survival mode. And this is something you can learn about. And I'm going to recommend some books at the bottom of this page today. Dr. Nicole LaPera, if you haven't heard of her, please go and look her up, the holistic psychologist. She changed my life. I've never met her, and all I did was read her book, okay? Again, experts that want you to know. So emotional self-care is learning, why do I react this way? And can I figure out how to control it so that it benefits me somehow? Like not burning a bridge, like not blowing up at work and maintaining composure, like maybe realizing it's not always worth your reaction. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing we're going to talk about is two different types of journaling, okay? So the first one is going to be logging data on the self, okay, on you. So you're going to literally log data about yourself. You're going to get a little journal from the dollar store, and you're going to physically write out every day, did you eat? What time did you sleep at? Did you sleep good? Did you freak out about something? Were you joyous about something? And then you're also going to write, did you eat? Okay, because that's a big factor. Okay, and you're going to do this for 3 months, minimum. Okay, minimum. And the reason why is because we want to find a pattern. Okay, we want to figure out, why do I always freak out about this? You might not get all of the answers out of logging this data, but you will start to make sense out of cycles, for example. Also just little things. Maybe you'll notice every time you have that iced coffee, you blow up at Joan in the office or something, okay? You need to learn that stuff about yourself. Nobody can figure it out for you, okay? So logging data on the self is super important, but I want to jump into an extra piece of this. If you are a woman, and I cannot stress this enough, you need to cycle track. Okay? What do I mean? Your cycle, your womanly period, everything from the first day of your period to the first day of your period, okay? Like, woo, the whole thing. Same thing for 3 months minimum. Why? Because you need to find patterns, okay? I have heard this from too many women who are like, oh, well, my period should be on like this day. They don't know shit about their body, and it's so fucking annoying, okay? Because I've had my own friends say things to me like, oh, it's weird that your period's now. My period is like clockwork, and I have been data following that for years of my life, and I can predict down to the day. Even this morning when I woke up, I felt kind of cranky, and I'm like, I bet you it's 11 days to my period. Boom, it's 11 days to my period. So no, that's not too much information for you. What I want you to recognize is I'm completely able to say, hey, you know what? I'm entering this zone of the month where maybe I'm not as social, so right now it's not time for me to do this particular thing. Or maybe I just really want to do this other thing because it matches my body right now. Okay, but being able to know those things really matters. That was my cat. Excuse me for a moment. Kitty, would you like to go outside? She's not camera shy, but we have better things to do outside, like get frogs. Okay, so cycle tracking is hugely important. So logging the data about the self, I want you to do that in a journal. Okay, and I'm going to tell you another reason why in a second. But cycle tracking, you can get an app for free on your phone, and it's really important to just write in, my period started, my period ended, and start looking for cycles and patterns that make sense to you, okay? One thing I can tell you about women is that we are best when we cycle sync. So, for example, you know, for me doing all this YouTube stuff, I do really well with it during the first 2 weeks of my cycle. And the last 2 weeks of my cycle, I'm like, oh my God, it's so hard to sit at the computer. I have to intellectually work myself through the hard stuff because remember, learning hurts a little bit. But when I'm closer to my period, I definitely find it a lot harder. So what I'm doing now is delegating my tasks differently according to my cycle so that I don't end up in these meltdowns or these ridiculous places in life that make me feel like I'm losing my mind unnecessarily. Okay. So one more thing I want to point out here, and this is a great exercise, is if you end up upset and you're trying to figure things out, cycle, you're trying to figure out anything about yourself, I want to teach you an exercise called dump writing. Sorry guys, I know I don't have the best writing. So dump writing, what does that mean? Well, you're going to get a journal and you're going to get a pen and you are going to write until it hurts. And you're not going to stop. You're not going to try to word it. You're not going to try to look for grammar. You're not going to try to dot the I's and cross the T's. You are going to aggressively write out your feelings. I hate this. What a stupid dummy. I can't believe this happened. How did I even get there? Blah, 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 blah. You're going to let it all out on paper. Okay? And then you're going to close the book. And then you're going to go outside and take a walk. And then you're going to come back. And then you're going to look at everything you wrote. And you're going to start again looking for data on the self. Because in that dump writing, there's a high chance you're going to notice you said, I hate Joan from the office 80 times. And then you can start figuring out why, okay? So data on the self is the only way you're going to ever figure out what's going on inside of you, okay? It's a great starting point. And the more data you have on yourself, that can only come from yourself, by the way, is going to be accurate because you're the only person who knows those answers, okay? I'll do a proper post on dump writing and we'll talk about it together, like in a static post, or maybe I'll do a poll or something. Okay, so those are the things I think I want to tell you. Let me look at my notes here. Looks good. Okay, so before I go on any further, if you ever want me to explain something further in any of these, just let me know. Let me know in the comments and I'll make a video on just one element for you. Literally, even if you're only one person who asks me for this, I'm happy to help you. I'll be honest with you guys, in my life, I have struggled, okay? I have struggled. Sometimes I think about it and I just gotta hug myself. But when I was at my lowest and I needed help, and I tried to go to therapy, it was $140 an hour then. So I can only imagine what it costs now. I had to choose between paying bills or going to therapy. I had to choose between eating or going to therapy. And guess what won out? Eating, because it's necessary, right? And I remember thinking, this isn't right. It's not fair. There must be a better way for us to learn. There must be easier things for us to do than spend $140 on somebody who's governed by a very specific scope who really couldn't tell you what to do anyway. At that time, I needed to quit a job I hated. At that time, I needed to release relationships that were pulling me down. But the person couldn't say that to me, that person that I went to therapy for, because her job exists within a scope that is governed by government. And all she could really do is be like, yes, you do seem stressed. But I didn't really get anything out of it. But on my own, I figured out all of this, and I have been teaching this for over 10 years. Now I'm proud to say that, but now I want to give it to the world this way. So if you can learn all of this stuff with me for free, my job in the world is completed. So bless you for being here today. Thank you. Okay. If you want to continue to stay with me, I'd love it if you subscribe. Leave me a comment about what you want to know. Maybe you want to know more about my story. Whatever it is, just let me know, and I'll do my best to answer all of those texts, comments, whatever, and make videos on some of your requests. But I can't wait to share some of the many things I have learned with you. So stick with me over the next few videos. After we're done today, we're going to go through the outer world on our next video. We're going to talk about the body on the video after that. And then I'm going to release the kraken of crazy things I've learned about self-care over the last 10 years. So let's go to number 3, our spiritual self-care. So what is spiritual self-care? Well, I'm not going to go in the religion and God direction. Before I go any further, I want you guys to know that I am indeed a metaphysical minister. I identify with metaphysics the most. Metaphysics means what is beyond physical. I do not believe in God. I know God exists, okay? But my idea of God is definitely different than what I was taught as a little girl in church. So I really broke off from that and moved into my own ideas. Okay, some people think maybe I'm a heathen or new age. I think actually I'm more like a Gnostic, but that is a whole other video. So let's talk about what is spiritual self-care. So what I want to talk about today is figuring out what is your purpose, okay? So purpose meaning that is your spiritual self-care. What are you here to do? What brought you to earth? And I'm not saying mom and dad. Okay, there's something that you are meant to discover. There's something that you are meant to give back to the world, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, 1,000%, this is going to include serving people. Whoops. Okay, why? Because when people's lives get better, the world gets better. End of story. So you have to figure out what it is. So how do you figure that out? Well, whatever it is you love doing, okay? I love teaching. I love learning about the body. I love learning. I'm obsessed with being alive, literally, okay? So what do I want to do with that? Well, I want to figure out how to teach people to have a better quality of life. Why? Because I have suffered immensely. And if I can help people not suffer as hard as I have, that is my purpose, okay? So whatever you love doing, how does that serve the world? Why do you want to make that the gift to the world? I have a beautiful friend. She's an incredible artist. She has also been through hard times. And I know she's meant to live here and teach people art and do therapy through art. I know she's meant for that. Okay. And she might not be there yet, but I know that's her purpose and she's closer to all the time. Okay. So you got to figure out what is it that's going to serve people and why, and what is your why and why are you good at that? Okay. So why is going to be a very important question in your life. Maybe you're like, oh, I love smoking weed. Well, that's probably not your purpose. But maybe if you love smoking weed, you have to figure out how to grow weed as organically as possible, the cheapest way possible, and you will give that back to the world. I'm just trying to think of anything, okay? Maybe you love sports. Maybe you're going to design a ball that's made out of recycled material because you're also an environmentalist, okay? So there's so many things, and we can do a video on this alone, because I could probably talk about this for a while and think of a lot of examples. So purpose is a reason. That's exactly what purpose means. And you need to figure out why you want to serve the people and how it's going to improve their life. I'm 40. I only really came to comfort with the fact that this is my purpose in the last couple of years. And I only came to find out that my true purpose is doing it with you here on YouTube. Because again, one of my goals is to make sure that everyone can get help for as free as possible. I don't know how much your internet costs, but I know you can get free data if you're in the city. I don't know, if you have a YouTube subscription, but my videos are definitely free. So anything I teach you in these 8 elements, I'm certainly going to do my best to teach you stuff that's going to be low cost or free. But there's going to be things at times that you might have to purchase. Not because I'm telling you to, let's be clear about that, okay? But like, I teach fitness, for example. Well, yes, we can do bodyweight fitness, but pipes like these, baby, they've come from lifting weights, okay? So I buy weights. They cost money. I can't stop that, even if I buy them used, okay? So there are ways to do things cheaper and more financially sound that make our lives easier. One of the elements is financial self-care, which we will be talking about in the next video. And again, if you ever want me to do one of these as just one video, one of the elements, let me know in the comments. If you're enjoying this so far, I'd love it if you subscribe to my page. Let me know what you think so far. I know this is not my best video. It might not be my worst video. I really like this style personally, but we'll see what you have to say in the future. Friends, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for considering yourself and learning to take care of yourself. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. I'm getting tears in my eyes about thinking about the stuff I want to teach you. And I wanted you to know that I've taught people very successfully, and I still get texts from people saying, I learned this from you, and my fitness clients send me the most adorable texts, and it's never about how physically strong they've become. It's about the stuff that we've learned about ourselves in the fitness class. So I know that my purpose is working because I've done it directly with people. The thing I love about doing this with you here is that you get to choose. You don't have to come to my fitness class, and I probably will teach you some fitness along the line. So stick with me on this self-care journey. I can't wait to show you everything that I know, and I really, really hope that you got something out of today's video. Thanks so much for being here. See you soon.